frosted glass.
Woo! We're back with more Death Curse Society. And guys, we're changing up the show format a little bit this time, so bear with us on this. I'm your host, Red Crank. I got the Colonel, and I got Zigzag.
Damn it.
That's all you got to say about this?
That's it.
Damn it. Okay.
That's it. What else is there to say?
Well, we got a lot to say because we got a movie to review here in a minute. But before we get to that, don't forget to hit that subscription bell on YouTube and follow us on social media. You know what's going on, guys. I just woke up literally to record this. It's kind of like a nightmare wakes. Let's go camping.
Okay, you big hunk of a man, come and get me.
Let's go camping this time around. We just got finished looking at the new movie on Shudder, A Nightmare Wakes, from director and writer Nora Unkel. The synopsis is, it's an adaptation of the novel Frankenstein as told through the life of Mary Shelley. As she creates her masterpiece, she gives birth to a monster. Colonel, I already kind of have a feeling where you're going to go with this, but give me your initial thoughts on A Nightmare Wakes.
A Nightmare Wakes should be called A Nightmare Sleeps because that's about what it fucking did to me. About knocked me out. Working long hours at my day job. That was not the movie to start off my Saturday night with. Just to be honest with you guys. Funny thing, it just wasn't terrible. I just didn't find it good. Historic accurate enough to okay, I dig it. There's also some historical inaccuracies where I was kind of like, kind of took me out a little bit. And it was a long build up to somewhat of a decent payoff. But by that point, it was too little, too late. Honestly, the highlight for me was the score.
How about you, Ziggy? Maybe a little bit of a different opinion?
No, man, this was actually quite good. I thought it was actually a decent movie. Now, this isn't for everybody, this kind of storytelling and what this material is, but it is a pretty good depiction of somebody that has a story inside of them that's going to come out no matter what. Some of the inspirations, when you look at it, and then this caused Frankenstein by their storytelling in this movie. It's kind of like, all right, but I mean, it is cool watching her come into actual scenes and quotes from the book and everything. And it is cool. I dug it. I really dug the character, Mary Shelley, in this movie. But then again, it does get a little bit squirrely at times. And then it does give you a pretty good payoff at the end. And okay, you can walk away satisfied. It's not necessarily horror outside of the genesis of Frankenstein in a way.
Right.
I mean, it is very good storytelling, and it is neat to see her have these epiphanies about what she's going to write and why. The blurring of the lines of her writing and her real world, that's kind of what the issue is here, and some of the choices were kind of half-baked.
Well, that leads me to my first question here, but I kind of want to say a couple of things first, what you just mentioned anyway. Frankenstein, as many of you probably know, is told through the eyes of Victor, but there are a lot of themes of motherhood and femininity within the novel. They're somewhat underlying in some cases, but this movie really brings those themes to light a lot more. What a lot of people don't know about Mary Shelley was she had gone through multiple miscarriages in her life before and even while she was writing Frankenstein. I like the way they personified that. Colonel, we may get into some of the historical inaccuracies here in a minute that I want to discuss with you, but the thing that bothered me most about this movie is that it was billed as a horror movie. It was put on a horror channel and billed as kind of an adaptation of Frankenstein. I can see loosely based on Frankenstein, but that's my question to you guys. Would this have been better billed as more of a historical drama rather than horror?
The whole time I was watching this, I was wishing this was more of a true-to-life biopic, kind of retelling the story reality-wise, not within what they thought she might have been thinking or going through. Let's get the facts and make that movie, tell that story without the squirreliness. It is good, though. I mean, but man, it's just, there's no way you can sit there and go like, well, no, that really happened, because it didn't.
Right. I think this movie was fairly true to a majority of Mary Shelley's life and even Percy Shelley, and the inclusion of even Lord Byron was kind of neat. I mean, we've seen this before in other biopics.
Let me just say, the men in this time period, you pretentious douchebags, fucking pompous, fucking idiots. What the fuck, man? How did civilization continue with these douches if the women weren't just submissive back then, like, and just let everything happen like they kind of do in this movie? I wonder, man, because these dudes are just like, holy shit. You think you know some morons and idiots out there now? Watch this movie, you'll be like, yeah.
Well, keep in mind, you could also, as a man at least, feed your family and put a roof over your head writing poetry. Colonel, what about you? Better as a historical drama or a horror film?
That would have been way better as a historical drama. Trying to think what to say because that's kind of going all over the place with this thing, so there's not much left for me to say about it.
You thunder stealing prick, you?
Yeah, this isn't Monday. Damn it. How you seen the story was conceived in her mind was kind of unnecessary, even though you understood why as the story was going on. It was just unnecessary. Damn it. It's like that's where they were trying to put the horror in. If it wasn't them trying to force the horror into the story, I would have been a little more open to it. God damn it. I didn't have anybody to root for watching this fucking horror movie because I didn't care for any character. Now, but autobiographical, hey, this is how it was. Sure, okay, maybe I could relate a little more to Mary Shelley, but in this movie, I couldn't do it. All the characters were fucking terrible. They were all bad people. She was likable at first, and then she kind of started going into her madness, really not being a mother, letting her sister, stepsister in real life, trying to be the midwife for her baby. That's just when I was kind of like, I'm done with her.
Point out some of the historical inaccuracies that you were talking about that you noticed that set you off in this.
Well, for one, like I said, they called her sister, when truly her stepsister. That's fine. I can overlook that one. But what really got me is, okay, yes, they were trapped inside. The city could write the best, ghost story. That is true. But it wasn't during a fucking rainstorm. It was when they were vacationing in, I think,
Switzerland, I think.
Yeah, Switzerland. The year without a summer, we all know this. And mini ice age in the early 1800s. They literally had no summer. They were trapped inside vacationing in July. And this fucking snow, that's when they came with the idea to write these stories. They had like one scene in the fucking snow. You read the fucking novel, it's ice. Mm-hmm. I mean, the monster drifts away on a fucking iceberg. You know what I mean? Fucking Yukon Cornelius is that shit and gets the fuck out. There's no ice in this fucking movie. No. Like one snowstorm. The rest of it was storms and rain and.
It's one person's vision, one person's interpretation of what they wanted to make a movie, and this is. I mean, the stuff where she has the actual story coming out of her in different ways. That was cool. I dug the metaphors and shit they had with that. That was cool, and it was done well. This one looked way better than the Pale Door did for as far as period piece. Man, if you've ever been to an old school, like a lot, they're around the country. Like here we have Greenfield Village, where it's all the old school, that time period. And when you walk into the building, you hear those floors doing that. I mean, it sounds like you're walking with microphones on your feet in an echo chamber. It felt legit.
I thought this was expertly acted. And honestly, I thought this was a brilliant script. I got finished with the movie and I did a little more research onto it. I found out that it was a Academy Awards Nichols Fellow and had been listed as top 10 on a couple of different lists for the last year. Kudos to Nora Uncle for that. That's a huge feat as a filmmaker and as a screenwriter. And especially the script being about something that's not so well known of a topic like Mary Shelley's actual life. I like the script and her going against the odds in a male-dominated society, leaving an indelible mark on horror literature forever. I thought that was a good telling. And I enjoyed the way Nora Uncle laid this script out. I do want to talk a little bit more about, and you guys have already touched on it, but the visualizations of Mary Shelley writing the book, coming up with dialogue and creating scenes in her mind and everything. I like that representation of a writer's journey because creating characters out of thin air, talking to themselves. As a writer myself, I appreciated that because I can easily relate to the imagery that's captured on there. When I'm working on a project or when I'm writing, I'm pacing around the room. I'm all over the house, just spinning and thinking of things. And this captured that in a way. I kind of feel like Nora Uncle herself may be the same way. She's pacing around her little New York City apartment or wherever and just coming up with scenes for this movie. But you said that threw you off, Colonel, or?
I think it was overdone. And I understand the reason why they did it. Because at the beginning of the movie, they're talking about, like, what kind of dark depths of your mind do you have to reach to write a story like this? And she went there. Mm-hmm. It just felt way overdone. I mean, I understood, every time she saw Victor, it was Percy. When she saw Elizabeth, it was her stepsister. She was taking people around and kind of, okay, this is the love story I wish I had with Percy, blah, 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 blah. Because obviously, we all know she was a mistress for many years before he actually married her. And then seeing herself as the monster, I get what they're going for. It just didn't work for me like it did for you guys. Felt forced.
What did I say at the beginning of it? This one was not going to be for everybody.
Right.
This kind of storytelling, and this is what we're seeing here with Colonel, I think. There's a quick scene where she's looking at blank pages and she's like actually weeping, but it's ink coming out of her. You know what I mean? It's little stuff like that, but it's real powerful, man. The way it comes is like there's a monster inside her that's coming out. A great story. Once in a lifetime.
Yeah, but we've seen that ink imagery throughout the entire fucking movie. That's what I'm saying. It's overdone. It lost its power halfway through.
It's that big a story.
It is not that big of a story because it just kept going and going and going and going and going. It's like, I get it. I get it. I get it. I get it. I get it.
I didn't feel like it was overdone personally, but again, maybe the writer in me is just giving a little bit of a pass on that. One thing that Ziggy's already mentioned, right, this movie is not for everybody. Do not go into this thinking it's a horror movie because it's really not. Just because it's on Shudder, this is different. And if you're not a fan of period pieces, you're probably not going to like this movie. Another thing that I think is fighting this movie a little bit, and I almost hate to bring it up, but I'm going to, is the overall women's tone. I mean, here we are, 3 men watching and reviewing this movie. We may not appreciate it as much as a female audience would. Do you think that makes a difference in moviegoers' minds at all, Ziggy?
I don't care who directs it or why. I mean, I see the story and how it affects me. That's how I'm going to react to it. I'll say this, though, but again, the men are really a bunch of boobs in this. And the character of Mary Shelley herself, very strong, very powerful, but she a bit paranoid and a bit, suspicious and shit, while this is all happening. It's done very well. I don't feel like there was a girl power message, like overall ruining it like that, like forced in. Not at all. No.
I'm not really saying a girl power message, but I mean, we don't know what it's like to be mothers. We don't know what it's like to carry a child within us as men. There's a stronger connection between a mother and child, and this movie really plays that out quite a bit. So, Colonel, does that hinder your ability to review this at all?
On a biological sense, yes. I don't know what it's like to have a child grow inside me and lose it. So I imagine they fucking lose it too mentally going through that. I can imagine that pain, having to go through that. So maybe there's a woman watching the movie that she's going to relate to this more than I ever fucking will, or I ever could, because like I said, biologically, I just can't do it. So I kind of agree with Zach too. We're also looking at this movie how we feel. It's no different than say these poor women having to watch fucking Cobra, with Stallone. We're going to relate to it a hell of a lot more than Julie down the street. It's a terrible example, but it's a fucking example nonetheless. It's
Colonel, during a review of a literary masterpiece like A Nightmare Awakes, could bring up Stallone's Cobra, ladies and gentlemen. Ziggy, go ahead.
They're the disease and he's the fucking cure. I just want to say this. You got to remember, her name didn't appear on the pressing. So that tells you everything you need to know. It's exactly. Like the book came big, and they're like, okay, we'll put her name on. So they gave her a little fucking crumb, like, here you go, good girl, which is fucking ridiculous.
Exactly.
I'll be honest, women are smarter than us.
I can appreciate the miscarriages, causing, it's like the perfect storm. All these things had to happen to harvest what came out of it. She had to go there, as Colonel said earlier, to mine it, to get to it, the darkness. One scene I did kind of find a little odd is when she had the baby. She didn't want to, this isn't my baby. I thought that was a bit weird, that whole thing that was going down. So,
to be honest, this is not something I thought while I was watching the film. It literally just happened from this discussion. We also have postpartum depression, something none of us can understand.
Right.
So it's kind of like, as we're talking about it now, I'm starting to look back like when I watched the movie last night and, well, yeah, I kind of crucified this character for being like that. And it's like, well, I didn't even think, because again, I'm a man.
Well, and that's why I wanted to bring this topic up. We don't get too serious very often on Death Curse Society. We'll admit that. But this is one of those movies that I kind of wanted to twist a little bit and dig a little deeper on, because I think there's a lot more to this movie than many people are going to get out of it. Even some reviewers that I've already seen. I saw one guy that reviewed it one night and literally watched it again. The next day released a video reviewing it again, going, "Man, I was wrong yesterday." I
missed a bunch of things.
I missed a bunch of shit. Exactly. Yeah. And I thought, you know what? I didn't expect that, for one thing. And two, kudos to that guy. I wish I could remember his name right now. I would give him a shout out. Kudos to that guy for going back and saying, you know what? Like Colonel did, I crucified this movie last night. I'm fixing myself today and saying, no, this is not that bad. You just have to look at it from a different perspective. Anyway, I appreciate the serious discussion that we got to have with this. The rest of the time, gentlemen, go fuck yourself. Ziggy, how about you get us started with a rating on this one?
It's a good movie, not necessarily a horror movie. Got to lose a couple just on that, just that it's not a horror movie. Comprise it all together and say 6.5.
My score has gone up a little bit after our discussion. I still found the movie boring, even with our discussion, maybe getting a better understanding from a different point of view, because I did watch it through my lens. Like I said, being a period piece is all accurate, but clothing wise, all that. I want to still give it middle of the road and just give it a 5, because I can't say just talking about it, because I originally was like, fuck this movie, I'm gonna give it like a 3.5 or 4, because I found it that boring. I still find it boring, but you guys talk to me to bring it up at least a point, at least middle of the road. I think it's fair enough.
My lobbying tactics worked. No. Yeah, it's not necessarily a horror movie, so on a horror channel, it's not going to get rated as high. Now you got me struggling. I'm struggling with this number, but I'm going to stick it with a 7, I think. I love shit like this, though. I told you guys when we talked about the Shudder releases en masse that this was the one I was most probably looking forward to, because I love that gothic period shit. I love that little bit of history smattered in there with it, you know? I love it. And this one was pretty fucking good. I'll be honest. I'm really looking forward to seeing what else this writer and this director, Nora Uncle, has to bring up. I think she's got a promising career. So yeah, we got a 5, a 6.5, and a 7 for A Nightmare Wakes, which is available right now on Shudder for you guys to watch. Check it out. Let us know what you think. Are we just completely wrong? Are we stupid? Are we just dumb men that don't get the movie? Maybe, but you let us know in the comments. And that's going to wrap it up for Let's Go Camping. Stay tuned in a couple of days. We'll have some more stories around the campfire.
Excuse me, someone's in here.
Hello, how's it going? I'm Rian Reese, and you are watching Death Curse Society.
Death Curse Society has just become an associate producer on the film.
Yes.
Bravo. Bravo. Death Curse Society, guys, is so awesome. I met the guys, all 3 of the guys, at Indianapolis last year for Horror Hound. And I met those dudes, and I gotta tell you, like, I hung out with them, we took pictures, I signed some stuff, they gave me a t-shirt. It was awesome. They are awesome guys. So super cool. I am so glad to have them on board this campaign, and also on board the film. And now they are going to be IMDb credited as producers on this movie.
All good down there?
Yeah, it's fine. It's, you know, it's dancing around and shit. Like, what?
Dad, look at me. Look at me, Dad. Look at me, Dad.
I'm getting better at ignoring him, but I mean, trying to get into a good stopping point where, you know, not in the mid-thought.
Hey, thanks, guys, for watching Death Curse Society. This is Red Crank here. If you enjoyed what you saw, make sure to go up here, hit that subscription button. Make sure to hit that bell, too, so you get a notification whenever we drop some new videos. And speaking of different videos, bam, right over here, we got a couple for you to check out as well. Check these out. Keep watching Death Curse Society. Thanks for tuning in. Woo!